Hello everyone. Today we will start the second module of construction management and entrepreneurship as per VTU syllabus. That is resource management. One of the very important topic it is to be covered. Okay. So first of all, we will start with the basic concepts of resource management. It's the completion of a construction project at maximum efficiency of time and cost requires judicious scheduling and allocation of available resources. And manpower, equipment and materials are the very important project resources that requires close management attention. If something went wrong in that, it hampers the whole project duration. The study and availability of these resources seldom can be taken for granted because of seasonal shortages, labor disputes, equipment breakdowns, competing demands and delayed deliveries, etc. If time schedules and cost budgets are to be met, the work must be supplied with the necessary workers, equipment and materials as they are needed on the job site. If any one thing is missing, then it directly hampers the entire project. So we have to give more focus on workers, equipment and materials availability when actually they are required in the site. Field supervisors can achieve favorable production rates and get the most from their workers and equipment only when the requisite ways and means are optimally available. So it is the duty of field supervisors. And it is the responsibility of project manager to identify and schedule future job needs so that the most efficient use is made up of resource available. So in future, what are all the different materials required that should be planned prior by the project manager, and he has to organize the same. The project manager must determine long range resources requirements for general planning and short term resources for detailed planning. So for long range resources, so general planning is required, and we have to give more importance to the short term resources. So unavailability of materials for the short term courses or resources, if occurs, then it may delay the entire project. So this is the flow diagram of resource management. First of all, we have to go for planning. Once the planning is done, then we have to draw a network diagram as we have covered in first module. Once it is done, then works volume per period, which are all the works volume we have to calculate. Next, resource and requirements per period. We have to identify the resources. Once resources identified under material requirements, labor requirements and equipment requirements, which are all the material requirements I need, labor requirements I need and equipment requirements I need, we have to identify. Once it is done, then physical constraints, if so, then again comes to the financial requirements and financial constraints. Once it is completely solved, then we will go for resource collection decision. We will take the decision. Next, resource is indented, and if something went wrong in this, again we have to go for modification if necessary. Then again we have to reschedule. That is, from the network diagram we have to change. So very important resource which is required is manpower. So meticulous care has to be taken in manpower planning in order to ensure timely deployment of just the required number of workmen for the right trade and skill. So if a skill is not there, so you can't perform that job. So this is very important. Both overmanning and undermanning are bad. At the same time, there should be no sudden fluctuation in the labor strength. Remember that the manpower and productivity would hold the key to profitability in construction. How much speed you cover the work, that much profit you will get. So manpower, for which work how many numbers of labors are required, prior to it we have to list it, and based on that itself we have to move forward. If something fluctuations in the labors occur, then it may vary the entire duration of the project. So why it is important to go for proper management, that is management of manpower. So it is estimated that the labor costs constitute from 25% of the production cost to 40% of the selling cost in manufacturing enterprise. The advantage of proper and efficient manpower are as follows. That is, it helps in discovering talented and competent workers and developing them to move up the corporate ladder. Next, it ensures greater production by putting the right man in the right job. That is very, very important. And it helps to avoid a sudden disruption of enterprise's production run by indicating shortages of personnel, if any, in advance. Next, also, it helps to prevent underutilization of personnel throughout overwhelming and the resulting high labor cost and low profit margins. And it provides information to management for the internal succession of managerial personnel in the event of anticipated turnover. Next, it is very, very important to plan the manpower. How actually it is planned and how actually it is tabulated. It is given in this slide. Manpower planning is the process by which a firm ensures that it has the right kind of people and the right number of people at right place at right time, doing work of which they are economically most useful. That sentence is very, very important. So we have to get the people at right number of people at the right place at right time doing the right job. That is very, very important. From this definition, it is clear that manpower planning is a vital tool in the hands of management to control labor costs by avoiding both shortages and surplus of personnel in an organization. So in large organization, this function is performed by the personnel department. The management of construction manpower begins with the tabulation of labor requirements. It begins with the tabulation of labor requirements by trade of each project activity. Normally, an activity shown in the network can be further divided into a number of sub-activities to facilitate labor estimate. The labor requirements to comprise each activity are mainly filled up by estimates made by experienced professionals. Okay, this table 2.1 time and labor requirements of each activity. This is the first step to carry by the management. That is activity. For example, it is given as example column casting in first floor. That is the activity. Sub-activity, that is activity sub-activities to go for column casting in the first floor, column base, steel works, shutterings, casting, time gap, de-shuttering, curing. So these are all the units, number, meters, metric tons, square meters, next to cubic meters, and what is the quantity required, and what is the time required to complete each sub activity, and manpower requirement, unskilled, skilled, and supervisor. In a construction organization, manpower planning is done as explained below. This is the procedure they will follow. That is, schedule the work elements from start to finish, showing monthly volume of expected output. What is the work has to be carried for next month? We have to take its volume. Next, describe the work elements and the manpower skill specifications and assess the number of man days for various trades skill to be put in every month. Draw a chart of manpower needed work-wise or week-wise or month-wise. Adjust the schedule and manpower requirements, avoiding sudden and steep fluctuations. Ascertain the availability of men of right trade and skill either in your own other sites. We have to adjust the manpower from one side to another side. Put off the requirement of those categories which are available for spot recruitment and which hardly need any training. Next, recruit and train the scarce categories in advance, but try to keep idling the minimum. Next, maintain a reasonable ratio between supervisors and workmen, ensuring effective supervision and high productivity. And review every month. The reviewing of manpower every month is essential step. So, class of labor. So, labor classes, it is defined. A construction activity is a very complex process made up of many different systems such as the structural system, exterior enclosure system, and HVAC systems. These systems can be broken down into many more subsystems and subsystems. In this way, a construction project is divided into numerous work packages. These work packages can then be assigned to a completed by an individual worker or a crew. In India, traditionally the construction industry has been labor intensive as the labor is cheap and easily available. So in general, there are three categories of manpower involved in this industry. That is skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled, and managerial technical workers. So it has been observed that every 1 crore investment on construction project generates employees of 22,000 unskilled man days, 23,000 skilled or semi-skilled man days, and 9,000 managerial and technical man days approximately. And it is given by IS 10 302 1982 Indian Standards on Unified Nomenclature of Workmen of Civil for Civil Engineering, published by Construction Management Section Committee. It includes around 95 categories of labors. The trade categories and the crew sizes used for determining construction output also varies with various agencies. So this is the table which gives you the idea of building construction workers trade classification. It classified under building trades, next masonry work, concrete helpers, masonry work. These are